All right, so we are picking up on the Psalm Sunday to Easter. I'm sorry, not Psalm Sunday. Palm Sunday to Easter. I am reading all kinds of stuff. So, Palm Sunday to Easter, walking with Jesus each day. So we are on day number 5. We run through day number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Day number 1 being the triumphal entry, which was Sunday. Day number 2 was the clearing of the temple, which was Monday. Day number 3 was the day of controversy and parables, Tuesday. Day number 4 was the day of rest, Wednesday. Now, if you were now we're on day number 5. So day number 5. Now we're getting into day number 5. Yes.
Yeah, what is number 4?
Day number 4 was the day of rest, Wednesday.
That's Wednesday.
Yes. All right, day number 5. And you, as many of celebrating, many are celebrating Holy Week this week, and tomorrow we're celebrating Good Friday. So let's get into it. So day number 5, Passover, the last supper, which is Thursday. So I hope you have your papers, your pencils, or your pens to jot these scriptures down. Lots of scriptures. Okay, Matthew 26, verse 17 through 30. Matthew 26, 17 through 30. And if someone could read that. Yes. Through 30. Matthew chapters 26, 17 through 30. Yes. Anyway.
On the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to such a man, and say unto him, the master said, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house, my disciples. And the disciples did as Jesus had commanded. They made ready the Passover. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with 12. And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto the Lord, and he answered and said, he that dippeth his hand in divination, the same shall betray me. The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. But woe unto that man by the Son of Man betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, it is I. He said unto him, Thou hast said. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed and brake it, and gave it to the disciples and said, Take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it, saying, Drink all of it, but this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink of this until that day when I drink it new with you in my body. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the mountain.
Okay. So, if you remember, they weren't in the city, right? They were out in the outskirts, but they're like, where are we gonna have? Where are we gonna have them? Where are we gonna have the Passover? And so he's like, go into the city. He was popular. He said, you're gonna see a guy and tell him we're gonna eat with you. We're gonna have dinner with you. Yeah. So do you think somebody who, remember we talked about this during our last session? Jesus was the King of Kings. People were rocking and rolling and saying, we want you. Okay, so the Pharisees and Sadducees, he was not very popular with them. Okay, because he was doing something different than what they want. But he was very popular with the people. So it wasn't odd for Jesus to come in and say, hey, I want a colt. I want this. I want that. If somebody had fed people, fed so many people, healed so many people, when the doctors couldn't heal them, really, you could have almost anything you know, if like the woman with the issue of blood, if all those years she'd been going to doctors after doctors and they couldn't heal her and Jesus healed her, he could have asked a whole lot of her and she's like, here, what do you need? And Jesus is like, with this particular, he's like, you're gonna see a man. Now this could have been a particular man that he divinely knew that would be there. And I believe it was divine. But it may not have been necessarily a divine. He was that popular that it could have been, look, somebody is going to be there and just say, hey, you come, open your house.
And I think there was this thing within him that, as this song says, when he speaks, he heals my troubled mind.
Yes.
It's like when he speaks, you hear something different.
Yes. Because at this point, the people were saying, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna. They were excited. So if he didn't just say, we want to come to dinner, he said, tell them the master. The master. If you look, right?
Yeah.
The master wants this. And he opened his door, but he didn't overstay his welcome. And that's the thing I love about Jesus. he doesn't abuse people. And he comes in and he stops. But then you notice that once they were in the city, then they went out into the Mount of Olives, which was right nearby. And I'll show you the picture. Hold on. And I hope those on can see. But here's, they were between Bethany and Bethpage and the mount right down here. They went into the city. Oh, hold on. The day of rest, by day 4, they were about here. They went into the city, right? And then they went into the Mount of Olives. Okay, by the time we'll see, they end up over here eventually. But we'll talk about that. You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me give you, and I have to watch the time because I want to make sure you have the other scriptures to be able to do some further research. So I'm going to provide you with the rest of the scriptures. Mark 14, verse 12 through 26. Luke 22, verse 7 through 23. John 13, verse 1 through 30. All right. In the upper room, Jesus prepared both himself and his disciples for his death. He prepared the Passover meal. He gave the Passover meal a new meaning. The loaf of bread and the cup of wine represented his body, soon to be sacrificed, and his blood soon to be shed. And so he instituted the Lord's Supper. After singing a hymn, they went to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus prayed in agony, knowing what lay ahead of him. Okay, so the Passover, we went into the feast when we did a Bible study. It hasn't been 2 years now. When we did, it's been 2 years. When we went to the feast. No, it was 2020. No, it was 2020 when we first moved here.
Oh, when you first moved here.
No, you were here.
When you first moved in?
Yeah, when we went through the different feasts.
Did that mean
The first. Oh wow. Oh okay. Yeah, but we went through the different feasts. So, and I don't even think we recorded that. That was interesting to go through the different feasts. So I won't go into the feast, the Passover feast, but we did go and we studied it. We won't do a dive in here. Day number 6. Well, before we go on day number 6, it's just a major shift happening. Jesus is in agony with what's happening, right? He's with his disciples in this room having the Passover, the feast, which now we call the Lord's Supper or communion. But something else is happening after the sign. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. During the day of rest, 1, 2, 3, and 4, something was happening.
Those people started to conspire.
Exactly. While everything is going on in the front lines, Judas is meeting. He is making plans on the back end. And we have to be so careful while the limelight is on us and people are cheering for us and patting us on the back. The people you think are with you. And I'm telling you carefully. And you think they're right beside you. That's my road dog.
Oh, Lord.
And it's like, well, when did Judas have time to meet with the priest?
When they're planning,
They got time. If they're moving around, going in and out of the city together, and going up, Judas found the time.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody tapped him on the shoulder, and he had an ear. He had an ear. And I don't know if the seeds had been planted prior to. But what I do know is the moment Jesus showed up in the city on that day, something changed. And they knew they had to do something about him.
Because Judas himself thought Jesus came to overthrow the Romans. But he realized that he had all this power, but it's not what he's going to do. And so he started to plan.
Mm-hmm. And what happens is when the heart of a man is not right, the devil can use him.
Oh, Jesus.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
And then when the heart of a man is not right, and when I say a man, I'm not talking about like the gender. I'm talking about mankind, human being, male, female, or whatever. If you're not right, the devil could use you.
Yeah.
So something, whatever it was, whether Judas was, the seeds were planted before or not, it went into high gear. Like now is the time, because now YouTube close. It's the time, and at this time is now Holy Week.
Yeah.
Rome was already on guard. The priests were on guard, and you already came in the temple before, but he wasn't a threat at 12. You know, they show how he brought it up. But when he went in and started turning over tables and messing up their coins. Yeah.
Selling their wares.
At that point, he was a threat. He became a threat. And so, here we go. It goes downhill from there. Woo!
Yeah, because it went downhill because at the supper, Jesus already knew what he was going to do. He had it set up already. He had the engine set on the door, and And he knew they didn't collect money already. I'm not sure if they didn't collect money already. Yeah.
Yeah, so was there for his physical body, there was no safety in the city for him. They had Jesus stayed in that city, they would have killed him before his time. But there was no such thing. Huh?
They made up to him at one time.
Yeah, they made up to him, but it wasn't his time. He slipped out. He slipped through the crowd. They tried to get him.
They thought that he was gone.
Yeah. They tried to put hands on him.
That's what slippery person you get used to.
They tried. Okay, so days number 6, crucifixion. Ooh, gracious. How we went from Passover, this is still Holy Week, to now Passover Friday. I'm going to try to find shorter. Let me give you all of these are long. So let me just provide you with the scriptures so you can jot them down. The crucifixion was a progression, so I don't want you to think that it just happened like this now. Okay, Matthew 27. Matthew chapter 27, verses 1 through 26. Mark chapter 15, verses 1 through 47. Luke chapter 22, verses 66, all the way through Luke 23, verse 56. Yes.
From 1 to 66.
22, starting at verse 66, all the way to Luke 23, all the way through verse 56.
Okay. Let me get this straight. Luke 22.
All the way to Luke 23, 56. Luke chapter 22, starting at verse 66. Continue and end at Luke 23.
So that's not chapter 22.
Chapter 23.
Okay.
Verse 56.
Verse 66. Continue on. We go to chapter 23.
Verse 56. Yeah, it goes over to the next chapter.
From chapter 22
to chapter 23.
Verse 66. And then it goes through to chapter 23 on to verse 56.
1 through 56.
1.
Chapter 23, verses 1 through 56.
Okay. And also John chapter 18, verse 28, starting at verse 28 and ending at John 19:37. Verse 37.
Starting at verse 28. 2.
John chapter 19, ending at verse 37. So, because those are so long, here's the abbreviated version. It goes through the betrayal, who betrayed Jesus? Judas. Okay. What happened?
What happened? It was Judas.
Yeah, how did Judas betray?
Okay.
Yeah, he told the guard that
Everyone
God is.
everyone-
That's
everyone is.
Okay.
still very
Okay. And then came the arrest. So therefore, after Judas betrayed him, he was arrested. Then all those people who like, yeah, Hosanna, scared. They deserted him. Like, oh, what? We don't know him.
You don't know him?
Oh. Yeah.
But Peter wants to cut off somebody's ear, right? Yeah, Peter.
Yeah.
He left the soldiers here, but then ended up betraying.
Yeah, because ultimately it's like, oh, you thought we were gonna do some, who? I don't know him.
I don't know that, bro.
Oh.
I don't know that.
A false trial, denial, condemnation, beating, mockery. Jesus required to carry his cross to the place of the skull where he was crucified with 2 other prisoners. Why such a quick word?
Because they had to kill him for
The sundown. Yeah.
For sundown. For the end.
Before everything must be done by 3 o'clock.
Let me tell you, the power and authority at which Jesus came in, they knew something was about to happen. And they knew if they did not cut it off right then and there, they didn't have much time. Because if they knew if they had time to put something together, it would be bad. So they had to move swiftly. And you see a lot of great leaders, even Martin Luther King, they were watching. I mean, even in our government here, they started watching people as they started rising to certain power. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. As they start rising, and of course, this is not even on the same level, but just to show you that governments, as people start raising to a certain rank, they cut people down. And it's nothing new. This is nothing different. The main difference is there had been nobody that had done it and influenced people to, time change.
But Jesus was doing, this is
Do you know that the influence Jesus had, they tried to wipe him out in a day. They couldn't wipe him out. We're still talking about him.
Yeah. That's very important.
And they're trying to say he wasn't God. Well, my goodness, if he wasn't God, he surely touched this world.
Yes.
He surely, we're still talking about him, huh? He's still touching. Amen. They tried to shut him up, but do you know that in one day, they tried to wipe him off the face of the earth?
But he had a mission.
But God. There goes your word, Minister Sharon. I had to say it. All points to be made. I had to interject, Minister Sharon. Is all of these points, but God, because all things needed to be fulfilled. All the prophecies needed to be fulfilled. You had something you wanted to say, your but God? Go ahead, Minister Sharon, say it.
But God,
Hallelujah!
you're right. But God for a whole lot of everything.
That's right.
When I went to get my car serviced, they have a waiting room, and the lady in the waiting room, we were both on the same side. We were both women of God. And we had a good time talking about Jesus.
And amen. Yeah. So no matter what people think they're doing, he's still working. All right.
Yep.
So day number 7, the tomb.
Day 7 is what?
The tomb. Actually, in here, it actually breaks it up. I have walking each day, but it actually is, it has Friday, but then it says 7, Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday morning. Okay, so I'll just roll with it. Okay, in the tomb, Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday morning. Jesus' body was placed in the tomb before 6 p.m. Friday night when the Sabbath began. And all work stopped, and it laid in the tomb throughout the Sabbath. And you know the Sabbath begins at sundown. Okay, so that's Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, right? All right, day 8. Let me give you the scriptures, and then we'll read. Matthew 28, verses 1 through 13.
Is this for day 7?
Day 8.
Oh, day 8. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know what day 8 was. Day 8, resurrection. So they try to wipe it off in one day. Day 8, resurrection. Matthew 28, verses 1 through 13. Mark 16, verses 1 through 20. Luke 24, verses 1 through 49. John 20, verses 1 through 31. And if someone can read Matthew 28, verses 1 through 13.
Early on Sunday morning, as the day was dawning, Mary Magdalene and other Mary went out to the tomb. Suddenly, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled aside the stone, and sat on it. His face shone like lightning, and his clothing was white as snow. The guards shook with fear when they saw him, and they fell to a dead faint. The angel spoke to the women. Don't be afraid, he said. I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He isn't here. He is risen from the dead, just as he said would happen. Come see where his body was lying. And now go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead. He's going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there. You will see him there. Remember what I have told you. The women ran quickly from the tomb. They were very frightened, but also filled with great joy, and they rushed to give the disciples the angel's message. And as they went, Jesus met them and greeted them, and they ran to him, grasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, don't be afraid. Go tell my brothers to leave for Galilee, and they will see me there. 13. Yeah. As the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and told the leading priests what had happened. A meeting with the elders was called, and they decided to give the soldiers a large bribe. They told the soldiers, you must say, Jesus' disciples came during the night while we were sleeping, and they stole his body.
Okay, so you see that they're working behind the scenes, and money may answer all things, but money can't buy all people. Okay, and the good thing that I like doing this study over the course of 1 week is because it gives a good time frame of how quickly things happen. Because between last Bible study and this Bible study, that's a lot of happenings in 1 week. And to see that people were triumphantly celebrating Jesus in that time frame, and him being crucified, betrayed, being resurrected in that same time frame, that's a lot. When we study and we dissect it, it sometimes takes away from the fact that this really happened pretty quickly. And it was something that changed their world. And they knew what happened, and they knew they could not pay everybody. They could pay some people off, but what happens is they plant seeds of doubt, they plant seeds of lies, so that people fight against the lies and start questioning that instead of believing truth. Early in the morning, when women went to the tomb and found that the stone closing the tomb had been rolled away, an angel told them Jesus was alive. Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene in the garden, to Peter, to the two disciples on the road to Emmaus, and later that day to all the disciples but Thomas. His resurrection was established as a fact. So there was a whole lot of people who believed it, a whole lot of people who knew it, and a whole lot of people who saw and witnessed his death. So the ones who saw him die, the ones who saw him walking through the street with the cross, they saw him stabbed, because that's what he was. He was stabbed and beaten, then hung on the cross. They saw him take his last breath. They saw him, the women saw him put in the tomb. They came. They also saw him alive. Whew, that was a lot, huh?
It says they took the money and did as they were taught, and this sayings commonly before the Jews.
Mhm.
So are the Jewish people today, 2023, still saying, hey, you know, the disciples came to them?
I mean, that's controversy that based on the Old Testament, but that's really not even a bigger issue today. Even that it said, it was one of those things where, at least today, it's one of those things that they're fighting more so against the treatment that they receive, and more so against because at this point in history, he's not really seen as a Jew. So it's a bigger issue than whether or not about that money. They don't study our scripture, our New Testament. So they're long past that.
What was the question?
No, are they still talking about the money that Jesus was sold for? But they don't study our New Testament like that. Only, huh?
Them telling that, oh, Jesus didn't resurrect.
They're not really studying the New Testament. They're not really focused. Most Jews aren't really studying the New Testament. Yeah, they're focused on the Torah. Yeah. So what? Yeah, they're not even fighting. That's just like, we're not really studying and teaching against what the Muslims teach. It's like whatever is in their book is in their book. We're focused on what's in our book, you know. All right. And let me stop this so we can go with our closing.